Good morning to everybody. This is another of the Pack Scout Unpacking series that I'm doing. This is going to be a slightly different message to the ones that I normally do. Normally I'm presenting something on the screen and there's an ability for people to follow along on the presentation. But today, something that happened when I was shopping made me realize that there's an area that doesn't really get talked about in packaging that's kind of vital, which I think it's worth having a talk about it just now. So I went and did my shopping, which is not a particularly special experience, as I'm sure everybody else watching this knows. But when I checked out, they gave me no choice. My option was paper bag or carry it in my hand. So I took the paper bag. I don't, as a preference, like paper bags. Historically, they fall apart. They're not particularly great for carrying wet or cold or heavy items, but these ones seem to do a pretty good job. And that's not the reason for the conversation today. The thing that struck me was that the promotional writing on the brown bag was all about how when a tree is chopped down to make paper, very simplistically, they are growing 2 or 3 trees for every one they cut down. The way that this was presented to me as the consumer is that, essentially they're growing forests. So making the choice to have a paper bag as my packaging carrier for my groceries was actually growing trees on the planet. That was the kind of message that I was being given by this thing, which is the Sustainable Forestry Initiative. And that's not right. Technically, of course, it's always a great idea that you take a material like paper and you replace the tree that you've cut down with another tree, and that's great. That's a wonderful idea and thought and process. The problem is that when you cut down a tree, you are cutting down the life of that tree in terms of nutrients. So replacing a 80 or 100 or 200 or older tree with a new tree, first of all, it's going to use different nutrients. It's going to have different requirements. It's going to provide a different shape and size and ultimately different tree. It's going to grow in that spot. And what a lot of the companies skip over is that it's not a like-for-like replacement. You're not just having a tree and removing a tree and putting a tree in its place and everything is exactly the same. Each time you remove one of those trees, you're taking something from the soil, you're affecting the habitat of whatever was living in, around, or off of that tree. So the biodiversity in the ecosystem gets, at best, challenged or moved or delayed or halted in some way, or at worst, you are replacing a faster growing tree with the one that you cut down. And so it's not a like for like replacement. It is a different plant that you're putting back in that place. Now, this is not to have a go at the paper industry, because ultimately the idea of not wanting to remove entirely trees, say quite rightly to me, well, at least they're doing something. It's true. The reason I wanted to have this quick meeting today, this conversation with my video screen and with you, is that each one of the materials has an unfortunate habit of having these vested interest promotional conversations. So, if you ever read anything on a metal can, it's about how wonderful aluminium is and it's the greatest material ever, and we should be having everything out of metal cans. Or glass will do the same thing. Paper is obviously doing the same thing now, and plastic will have its own ways of being able to justify why it's the best material choice. The problem with all of this is that when you are telling consumers information, they're accepting it as fact. I mean, why wouldn't they? Why would they challenge what's being said on their paper bag? But the information that's being provided to them is not actually quite correct. So what you're doing is you're running the risk, very real risk, of creeping into greenwashing, where you are making a claim that's not in fact accurate. And it's a claim that is to generate sustainability dollars or interest, or to capture people's attention because you are demonstrating that you're a responsible and sustainable and environmentally aware and conscious company. But by providing that kind of information, first of all, you are denying the other materials the opportunity to make their own case. And in every materials case, there are pros, there are cons. Some are better for some things and worse for other things. That's just the way it is. So if you're going to have a conversation about how paper bags are great because you're recovering or regrowing forest or adding more trees to the planet, you need to also talk about the impact to the biodiversity, the fact that there's got to be something that's being done to ensure that the habitat of what you're taking away is not being damaged irreparably. You've got to include all of the resources that are used. You've got to look at the life cycle analysis of the material that's being used, and then you can start making claims about, which is the best for the planet. But at the moment, the thing that really jarred today was the fact that I had not been aware that major companies, and this is a huge supermarket chain is doing this at the moment, they are actively giving information that is not quite the whole picture to consumers who have no way of being able to check it or confirm it or double check it for its veracity. And I'm just a bit worried that if that's what they do in a major supermarket, then there's nothing to stop smaller brands or online brands or ones that have got less visibility from doing the same thing. And all that's going to happen is that you are not giving everybody the full picture. So today's thought for the day is, when it comes to packaging, when it comes to stating why a particular material is a great idea, all for it, but make sure that it is a balanced, non-greenwashed, non-claim that is throwing shade over another material just to kind of raise yields, because it's not accurate, it's not fair, and it will come back to bite you.